Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Men's Minds Matters. Today, since Valentine's Day is approaching, I thought I would do a classic lesson that I've done before for a different format, but I really wanted to share it with you today, and that is the subject of love languages. So, as Valentine's Day is approaching and you are wondering how to better connect with the person that you are in a relationship with, these skills can definitely be helpful. So, first of all, what are love languages and where do they come from? Love languages were invented by a Christian author named Gary Chapman, and he came up with these a long time ago. And since then, they have been um, uh, looked at and evaluated, and it seems like over and over these things seem to work really well for people. And so I'm sharing them with you today as I've found them helpful in my own life, as well as the lives of people that I work with. So, love languages are a way of both giving and receiving affection from someone. As it turns out, we all have different ways that we like being loved, and love languages are a way that we do that. And knowing a person's love language can help you connect with them on a deeper level. And this is really important for Valentine's Day, right? Because that's our goal, is to connect with someone on a deeper level, the person that we're in a relationship with. And so I wanted to go over all five. There's a total of five, and we'll see how they work out. Let me go ahead and pull up the slide with those. So, number one, we have the love language of physical touch. So this is the love language where you're coming in contact with another person, whether that be hugging, holding hands, kissing, cuddling, and obviously, of course, intimate sexual relationships as well. That is definitely under the category of the love language of physical touch. So touching someone, being with them, contact with them physically is the first love language. Second love language is words of affirmation. So, words of affirmation are compliments, things that you say that are nice, telling someone that you love them, telling someone that they look good, telling someone that you like this aspect about them, essentially compliments. Those are words of affirmation. Next one on the list is quality time. So this is spending good time with someone that you care about, whether that be going on dates, that would be under this category, doing things around the house together, going for a meal together, things like that. So those are all quality time that we spend with the person that we care about. The next one is acts of service. So this is the one where we are doing something for somebody. We're doing the dishes. We are taking care of something for them. We are giving our time to something that they need, doing something for them. And then the last one is gifts. So gifts are giving a gift and things like that. So every couple that I have come in contact with, most people have a primary love language and a secondary love language. So I left this slide up. So, for example, one person, their primary love language might be words of affirmation. They love to give compliments. But then their secondary one might be that they love spending quality time with someone. So compliments are what they really want, and then also quality time is important as well. I wanted to point out, too, that all of these things are nice things. If you're doing one of those things in a relationship, it's not wrong. Even if your love language is not, for example, words of affirmation, that doesn't mean you don't like compliments. It just means that that's not the primary thing that you go to. So, with those in mind, I want to encourage you to sit down and think about this. And I've done this with couples before, and it's actually a lot of fun, where I will have a couple write down on a sheet of paper that they hide from the other person. They will write down their two love languages, their primary and their secondary, and then they will write down their partner's primary and secondary. And then we do this big reveal on the count of three. They both flip them over. And I would say that about 90% of the time, a couple that's been in a long-term relationship gets it to the T. In fact, and a few times even, I've seen a partner put down what they thought their other partner's love language is, And that partner didn't think that's what it was when they wrote it down, but then hearing it from their partner saying, I think this is your love language, they thought about it and they said, oh, that actually makes sense. And there's a conversation about it. Because remember, just because you have a primary doesn't mean that you don't like these other things. It just means that's what your primary love language is. So when you are figuring these out and you are having this conversation with your partner, and by the way, I think it's a great idea that once you watch this video, if you watch it alone, to find that person that you're in a relationship with and say, hey, let's watch this short video together, and we'll do that exercise where we write down our love languages and we figure out what the other person is. Now, I have met all people with all kinds of different conjunctures of these. And each relationship, it works out a little differently. So finding yours will help you understand your partner on a deeper level. So physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and gifts. Now, I wanted to also point out that there are some cautions with this. So let me pull those up. Cautions, things you want to consider when you're talking about your love languages. First of all, these 5 things do not create love, they only deepen it. In other words, you can't just do something nice for someone or follow one of these love languages, even if it's theirs, and expect them to magically fall in love with you. Love is significantly more complex. What this does is this takes a love that you already have and makes it deeper. The second thing is these should not be done as a covert contract. And I'm sure I will do a video at some time in the near future about covert contracts, what they are and what they look like. But let me just start by saying a covert contract is essentially that you are giving to get. In other words, if your love language, and this is true for many men, is physical touch, and their partner's love language is, say, acts of service, which is one of the primary one for women, it doesn't mean that if you go and you clean all the dishes, or you wash all the dishes and clean the house, that suddenly your partner is going to have intimate relationships with you that night. It is way more complicated than that. So, in fact, they have a name for that a lot of couples use. It's called chore play, right? Someone does something in hopes of getting physical affection out of it. It does not work that way. That is not how they're supposed to be. Acting upon someone's love languages should always come from an act of generosity and an act of compassion, not an act of manipulation. Also, and I see this a lot with a parent mentoring that I do. When you're using this with children, and by the way, children have love languages too. I bet most of you, after looking at those 5 love languages, could probably sit down and figure out what your kids are too. But when you're using them with children, be mindful of your languages so that you do not leave a child out when their language doesn't match well. And I've seen this from time to time where a parent has multiple children, and let's be honest, most of us do, right? Most of us have more than one kid. Eventually, there are some only child families, but most of us have more than one. So what happens is, let's just say a parent's love language is, quality time, and their child's love language is maybe gifts. Well, they have another child that their love language is quality time, so the parent ends up spending a lot of quality time with one, but never reaches out to get to give a gift to the one who that's their love language. So remember that when you are a parent, you are in the position of giving. You are in the position of transmitting your love to your child and not always expecting it to come back. And so make sure that whenever we act on a love language, we're not doing it just to get our needs met by giving that love language, but in fact, especially with children, that we are being mindful of a child's love language, because the last thing we want to do is alienate a child because we are not communicating with them well. So the next thing on the list too, and I want you to be aware of this, love languages are not a compatibility test. Love languages, and I'll repeat that, are not a compatibility test. You can have very different love languages and still be deeply in love. And not to get too personal on this because this is my family, but I can tell you from my own experience, my wife and I have different love languages. And so we're still happily married. The difference is that I take into account what her love languages are, and she takes into account what my love languages are. So if they're not the same, and they seldom are the same love languages, I've met very few couples that can say they have the same love language, but each of them knows the other person's and can help deepen the relationship based on what their love language is. So I'm going to put them up one more time. They are physical touch, kissing, hugging, cuddling, intimate relationships, words of affirmation, compliments, things like that, quality time, not just quantity, but quality time, doing fun things together as a family, acts of service where you're doing something nice for someone, and finally, gifts, as in you're giving someone something. So I hope this is beneficial to you as it's been beneficial to many people. I hope that you can use these to help further your relationship and deepen your relationship, not only with the person that you are in a long term relationship with, but also your children as well. Remember that kids have important love languages too, and as our parent, we never want to neglect those as well. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. And if you want to, watch this video again with a person that you are in a relationship and see if you guys can't deepen your relationship together. Because the number one gift that you can give on Valentine's Day, above the flowers or anything else, is giving to the person what it is that they most want to receive. If that is not flowers or chocolate, but rather a date night out, do that instead. You will find that sometimes those go far more than simply a box of chocolates or a bouquet of flowers. So I hope this has been informative to you, and get out there in this world and make some more love with the people around you. Thanks, and have a good day.